Tonight I want to talk about 5 steps to get back together with an ex. Hey folks, I'm Jim Miller, helping you find and keep the love of your life and write a better love story. And I would ask you, if you get value out of the channel, click the subscribe button. It's right over in this ballpark somewhere. When you do that, you'll get a bell icon. Tick that. That way you're notified whenever I upload new content, which right now is a couple times a week. Also, give me a thumbs up, like the video, and share it. If you know somebody going through a breakup, somebody going through a rough time right now, and you feel like they might get benefit out of this, please share the video. If I can make one person feel better about their situation and their relationship, you know what? It's all worth it. That's the goal, is just to try and help people to find a way through this thing called relationships. Anyway, let's dive into the content. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list. These are 5 steps that are required to get an ex back. But I will say this, there's no guarantees that an ex will come back. There's no guarantees that you can re-spark that they may not want to do this. So there are no guarantees in this, but these are steps that you can take that will help you to better your chances. And step number 1, we've all heard it, it's no contact. I don't use the word rule. I don't like rules per se, go figure. But it's a period of no contact, and I recommend at least 30 days, depending on how long you were together and how the breakup was. Now, if your last interaction with your ex was your shit flying out into the yard, 30 days might not be enough. You might need to give them a little bit more time, depending on what happened. But at least 30 days. And what is meant by no contact? Well, no contact is a period of time you're not contacting them. You are not initiating contact. You're not liking their Facebook posts or their social media posts and things like that. You're not commenting on that kind of stuff. There are situations where you may need to reply. If they reach out to you, you may need to reply. You may want to reply. A prime example is a guy that I was working with here a while ago. His ex-girlfriend was actually kind of reaching out saying, hey, I feel kind of bad. Maybe we should talk about this. And he wouldn't respond because he was in no contact, right? And I'm like, no, respond. She's trying to get back. And it worked out. It did work out very good for him, I'm happy to say. So there may be some times that you will need to respond, but for the most part, and no contact is for you. This is a period of time you're not worried about them. This is time that you can spend in your own stuff, in your own space, and you can figure out what you really want to do. I mean, do you really want this person back? Right now you do. Maybe you feel bad and desperate, but after a little period of time, you may decide you don't want it. So step number 2 is the inventory phase. This is something that was always very important to me, and I think it's a very important thing. You need to take an inventory of the relationship, and more likely the bad side. We all have good parts and bad parts, and it's good to know what the good parts are. But the bad parts are what caused the breakup, I'm assuming. So you have to look at this. What I recommend you do is that you take out a piece of paper and a pen. Yes, you're actually going to write this. Now, if you write on the computer, that's one thing. But you should write it down. I mean, you should actually have to form those words on paper or on the computer. Remember when we were in class, they said when you take notes, it sinks in better. Well, it's the same thing here. Write it down. Okay, write it down. And what I want you to do is to take every argument, every difference of opinion, everything that's happened like that in your relationship with this other person. And I want you to write those down. Be thorough. Actually be thorough. Every fight that you can remember, every argument that you had, every difference of opinion, just things that you had that were incompatible in a relationship. Then I want you to look at those realistically. After you write them down and after you've been thorough about it, look at them. And look at them from your mate's perspective. Look at them from your ex's perspective. Step into your ex's shoes. Put yourself in their position and argue this back from their point of view. And see how you feel about that. See what happens. From that, you can kind of create a game plan of how you'll deal with these situations if they come up in the future. One of the problems that I tell people, one of the things that I tell people quite often is that your ex is an ex for a reason. And if nobody makes any changes, even if you do get back together, it probably won't last. So this is a good place to start making some changes. This kind of gives you a game plan if going forward, that if this relationship does come back together, these are things that you can do. Step number 3, very important, is improve yourself. And by improve, I can remember people, you need to spend this time and improve yourself. What the hell do you mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is, you need to take care of yourself. You need to eat healthy or better. I mean, I was eating frozen pizzas every other night of the week, So you had to eat a little healthier. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. Take care of yourself. Exercise some. I put on a little weight. I needed to lose a few pounds. I felt a little better about myself, but I had to work on my mind too. And part of that was, not only like the inventory, but I did a lot of journaling. That was, for me, journaling is very, very therapeutic. I highly recommend it. I mean, putting that stuff down on paper. But improve yourself. When you got into the relationship, when I got into the relationship, I let parts of myself go. And I don't mean physically, although I did that too. But I stopped doing activities that I really enjoyed doing. I stopped hanging out with some people that I enjoyed hanging out with. I put some things on the back burner that were important to me so that I could be with this person. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but you have to have a life of your own. So what I had to do was to rediscover those things. And I had to really work on my mindset, and I had to realize that, what, I had a lot to offer this relationship, that it wasn't just all, she wasn't doing me a favor by dating me, get out of that mindset. But anyway, I had to work on improving myself, and it's a slow process, and I'm still working on it, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. But it's a slow process, but it's something that, and even if your ex doesn't come back, self-improvement is never a waste of time. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Step number 4, and this could go on for a long time, so I'm just going to be very, very brief on this, is to reestablish contact. Now, how you reestablish contact depends on your individual situation, the breakup and whatnot like that. It has to go back to kind of what your relationship was like. But I'll tell you, and I've used this example before, I'll use it again. An ex of mine, when she wanted to reestablish contact with me, simply sent me a picture of a sunset. It was something that we both appreciated, a beautiful sunset, with the words underneath of it just basically said, "This made me think of you." The beautiful thing about that text, it doesn't require a response. If I hadn't responded, okay. If you ask someone a question in there, then they kind of have to respond. Then you got to wonder, are they responding because they're just being kind, or they're responding because they really are interested? So reestablishing contact, and we can go into that at another point, but that's step number 4. You have to reestablish contact. And step number 5 is to rebuild that passion. You have to rebuild the passion. You have to rebuild the relationship, obviously. But I recommend, if at all possible, to rebuild passion. And by passion, I'm not talking about sex and the physical side, although that is important. What I'm talking about is just passion, just being excited to be around each other. I was very passionate to be with this woman. Just being around and spending time with her, it was just a great joy to do that, and it was very passionate. If you work on increasing the passion, the problems will they won't take care of themselves, but the problems are easier to deal with if you have the passion. In a relationship, if you have no passion, these problems come up and they just sink you. So you have to be very careful about that. So anyways, folks, let's go back over it. Step number 1, no contact. Step number 2, take that inventory. Figure out where you are and where you're going. Step number 3, improve yourself. Can't go wrong if you improve yourself. Step 4 is to reestablish contact, and step 5 is to rebuild the passion and the relationship. Anyway, folks, just wanted to bring those to your attention. Down below in the details, there's a link to a couple of free ebooks that I give away, and my personal email's down there too. If you have a question, you can email me, or you can post a comment in the public forum, in the comment section down below. If there's something you want me to talk about, some particular situation going on, please send me either an email or put a comment in there. I'll respond to all comments and emails within 24 hours, and good deal. Again, folks, I'm Jim Miller, helping you find and keep the love of your life and write a better love story. Have a great night.